By the time Judge Lauren returned to the courtroom for the final hearing, word had already spread through the entire courthouse. People crowded near the doors. Staff members whispered in the hallways. Even attorneys from neighboring courtrooms slipped inside quietly just to witness what was happening. Because everyone now understood one thing: this was no longer an eviction case. This was the collapse of a predator who had spent years hiding behind patriotism while quietly destroying the lives of the very people she claimed to support. The courtroom was packed when Judge Lauren stepped back onto the bench, and this time, two unfamiliar figures sat in the front row. A man and woman dressed in dark business suits, legal pads in their hands. Serious expressions fixed directly on Monica Hale. Judge Lauren acknowledged them with a small nod before taking her seat. Daniel Harper remained standing at the defense podium. He still looked emotionally drained, but something about him had changed. The hopelessness was fading. For the first time in years, people were finally listening to him. Across the room, Monica looked completely different from the confident landlord who had entered court earlier that morning. Her expensive clothes no longer projected authority. Now they looked like armor falling apart. Judge Lauren arranged several papers in front of her before finally speaking. "Mr. Harper," she said calmly, "I've worked in the legal system for more than 40 years." The courtroom remained silent. "I've seen greed, manipulation, fraud, cruelty," she paused briefly. "But what I've reviewed today ranks among the most calculated schemes I've ever encountered." Daniel lowered his eyes quietly. Judge Lauren's tone softened slightly. "You are not responsible for what happened here." The words hit Daniel visibly. His shoulders trembled. "You were targeted," Judge Lauren continued, "because someone recognized your grief and vulnerability and saw an opportunity to profit from both." The room remained absolutely still. Then Judge Lauren picked up Emily Harper's letter once more. "Your daughter documented the truth while she was dying." Daniel's eyes filled again. She understood exactly what this woman was doing. "And she left this letter behind to protect you if the same thing ever happened again." Judge Lauren looked directly at him. "That letter did more than protect you, Mr. Harper." She paused. "It may have saved dozens of future victims." Then her expression changed instantly as she turned toward Monica. Every trace of softness disappeared. "Mrs. Hale," she said coldly, "I find your testimony entirely lacking in credibility." Monica swallowed hard. "The evidence presented today demonstrates a deliberate pattern of predatory conduct, targeting vulnerable veterans over an extended period of time." Judge Lauren's voice grew firmer. "You used patriotic advertising to lure military families into your properties." Another pause. "You systematically documented minor issues to justify inflated repair claims." Another. "You utilized your brother's contracting company to create fraudulent invoices." Another. "And when these tenants couldn't pay fabricated debts." Her eyes narrowed. "You financially destroyed them." Monica's attorney slowly closed his eyes. Judge Lauren leaned slightly forward. "This is not simply unethical property management." Her voice sharpened. "This is organized exploitation." The courtroom remained silent enough to hear papers shifting. Judge Lauren finally looked back toward Daniel. "Judgment in favor of the defendant, Daniel Harper." A stunned murmur spread instantly across the gallery. "The plaintiff is awarded nothing." Monica stared in disbelief. "All claims regarding unpaid rent and property damage are dismissed due to fraudulent conduct." Judge Lauren continued without pause. "Furthermore," she opened another document. "Mrs. Hale is hereby ordered to pay Daniel Harper the following damages." Daniel looked frozen. $8,500 for fraudulent repair claims. Another page. $15,000 for emotional distress resulting from the systematic harassment of a disabled veteran. Another page. And $25,000 in punitive damages for the intentional exploitation of a grieving father whose daughter died following unlawful housing practices. The courtroom erupted. People gasped. Several veterans in the audience openly applauded. Bailiff Marcus Reed immediately called for order, twice. Judge Lauren continued once silence returned. Total judgment, she looked directly at Monica. $48,500? Monica's face went pale. Her attorney immediately leaned toward her, whispering frantically, but Monica barely seemed able to hear him. Judge Lauren wasn't finished. The eviction filed against Daniel Harper will be immediately vacated and permanently expunged from his record. Daniel closed his eyes briefly as emotion overwhelmed him. Judge Lauren turned another page. In addition, this court orders Monica Hale to provide a complete list of every veteran tenant evicted from her properties within the last 5 years, including all damage claims, contractor invoices, and collection records associated with those cases. Monica finally found her voice. Your Honor, this is excessive. Judge Lauren cut her off instantly. No. What was excessive was exploiting disabled veterans while pretending to support them. The courtroom erupted into quiet approval again. Judge Lauren gestured toward the two officials seated in the front row. Special investigators Rebecca Sloan and Daniel Ortiz from the State Attorney General's office are present in court today. Both officials stood briefly. They will begin a formal investigation into your business practices immediately. Monica looked horrified now. Judge Lauren continued. You may face criminal charges including fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy, financial exploitation, and racketeering. Monica shook her head rapidly. This is unbelievable. Judge Lauren's voice became ice cold. What's unbelievable, Mrs. Hale? Is that you spent years disguising cruelty as patriotism. The room fell silent again. You wrapped yourself in flags while targeting people who already sacrificed for their country. Monica looked down at the table, unable to respond. Judge Lauren closed the file completely. This hearing is concluded. The gavel struck sharply, and suddenly the entire courtroom erupted into movement. Daniel remained standing motionless for several seconds, almost unable to process what had happened. Victor Ramirez stepped forward first, gripping Daniel's shoulder firmly. Then other veterans from the gallery approached. Several were openly crying. One elderly man embraced Daniel tightly and whispered something into his ear that caused both men to break down completely. Meanwhile, Monica attempted to leave quietly through a side exit, but Investigator Sloan stepped directly into her path. Mrs. Hale, she said professionally, will need to speak with you immediately. Monica's attorney grabbed her arm quickly. Don't answer anything without counsel present. The two investigators escorted Monica away as cameras outside the courtroom exploded into flashes. Her confident image had completely collapsed. Inside the courtroom, Judge Lauren motioned gently for Daniel to approach the bench. He walked forward slowly. Mr. Harper, she asked quietly, do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight? Daniel hesitated. Not really. His voice cracked again. My daughter was all I had. The courtroom became silent once more. My wife passed away 4 years ago, he continued softly. Since Emily died, mostly, I've been sleeping in my car. Judge Lauren's expression softened immediately. Before she could respond, a woman near the back of the courtroom suddenly stood. Your Honor, she called out. I run a veterans housing transition program. Everyone turned toward her. We have an open room. Mr. Harper can stay with us as long as he needs. Another man stood beside her. I work with the VA benefits office, he said firmly. I'll personally review his delayed benefits claim. Daniel looked overwhelmed. Judge Lauren nodded slowly. Mr. Harper. Her voice became gentler than anyone in the courtroom had heard all day. It sounds like people want to help you. Daniel lowered his head emotionally. Let them. Tears filled his eyes again. Your daughter fought to protect you, even during the final days of her life. Judge Lauren carefully picked up Emily's letter from the bench and handed it back to him. Keep this safe. Daniel accepted it with trembling hands. She gave you something powerful. Judge Lauren paused. She gave you the truth. Another pause. And today, her voice softened, the truth finally won. The courtroom slowly emptied afterward, but many veterans stayed behind surrounding Daniel. Some shared their own stories, others offered phone numbers, resources, housing contacts, counseling programs. For years, these people had suffered quietly. Now someone had finally listened. Inside a nearby conference room, Monica Hale sat beside her attorney, while investigators from the Attorney General's office reviewed the first stages of what would soon become a massive criminal investigation. 23 veteran families. Potentially more. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in suspicious damage claims, years of coordinated financial exploitation. And it had all begun collapsing because one dying woman refused to stay silent before she left this world. Emily Harper's final letter had become evidence, a warning, and the weapon her father finally found the courage to use.